the passenger. The rain hammered against the windshield of my taxi, blurring the neon lights of the city into an indistinct, shimmering haze. It was a late shift, the kind where the streets are slick with rain and secrets, and the only people out are those who have nowhere else to go. I gripped the steering wheel, my eyes scanning the dimly lit sidewalks, hoping to catch a fare. Then I saw him. He stood beneath the flickering glow of a street lamp, his figure shrouded in shadow. He was tall and thin, wearing a dark overcoat that seemed to swallow him whole. He raised a hand and I pulled over, the tires hissing on the wet asphalt. He slipped into the back seat, the rain clinging to his coat like a second skin. "Where to?" I asked, glancing at him in the rearview mirror. He hesitated for a moment, his eyes darting towards the back seat, as if expecting someone to be there. But there was no one. Just the empty expanse of worn fabric. "Take me to the old Blackwood Cemetery," he said, his voice a low, raspy whisper. A shiver ran down my spine. The Blackwood Cemetery was miles outside the city, a desolate, forgotten place where the dead outnumbered the living. "Are you sure?" I asked. "That's quite a drive." "I'm sure," he said, his eyes fixed on the back seat. "Just take me there." I shrugged, putting the car in gear. "All right, but it's going to be a long ride." The drive was unnervingly silent. The only sounds were the rhythmic swish of the windshield wipers and the low hum of the engine. I tried to make conversation, asking him about his day, but he remained silent, his gaze glued to the back seat. Every few minutes, he would glance back there, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and anticipation. It was starting to creep me out. "Is everything all right back there?" asked my voice tight. He didn't answer. He just kept staring, his face pale and drawn. I glanced in the rearview mirror again, trying to catch his eye. But he was lost in his own world, oblivious to my presence. As we drove further away from the city, the rain intensified and the darkness deepened. The only light came from my headlights, cutting through the downpour like twin blades. The road twisted and turned, leading us deeper into the heart of nowhere. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I saw the gates of the Blackwood Cemetery looming ahead. They were rusted and overgrown with weeds, a grim reminder of the decay that lay within. I pulled up to the gates, the engine idling. "We're here," I said, turning to face my passenger. He didn't respond. He was still staring at the back seat, his eyes wide with terror. "Sir," I said, my voice rising, "we're at the cemetery." He blinked as if snapping out of a trance. "Yes," he said, his voice barely audible. "I know." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a wad of bills, handing them to me without counting. "Keep the change," he said. I stared at the money, then back at him. "Are you sure you want to get out here?" I asked. "It's the middle of the night, and it's pouring rain." "I have to," he said, his eyes pleading. "Please, just let me out." I hesitated for a moment, then unlocked the doors. He scrambled out of the car, his overcoat flapping in the wind. "Wait!" I called out. "What about your things?" He didn't stop. He just turned and faced the cemetery, his back to me. "They're not mine," he said, his voice a haunting whisper that was carried away by the wind. Then he turned and walked through the gates, disappearing into the darkness. I sat there for a moment, stunned. What had just happened? Who was that man? And what was he so afraid of? I shook my head, trying to clear my thoughts. It was just a weird fare, I told myself. Nothing to worry about. I put the car in gear, preparing to leave. But then I glanced in the rearview mirror, and my blood ran cold. In the back seat, sitting in the shadows, was a figure. It was tall and thin, wearing a dark overcoat. Its face was hidden in shadow, but I could feel its eyes staring at me, piercing my soul. I screamed, slamming my foot on the accelerator. The car lurched forward, the tires spinning on the wet ground. I didn't stop until I was miles away from the cemetery, my heart pounding in my chest. I pulled over to the side of the road, my hands shaking. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I had to get out of the car. I stumbled out into the rain, gasping for air. I looked back at the taxi, its headlights cutting through the darkness. And then I saw it. In the back seat, the figure was gone. I stared at the empty seat, my mind reeling. Was I hallucinating? Had I imagined the whole thing? But then I noticed something on the seat. Something that hadn't been there before. It was a small, worn photograph. I picked it up, my fingers trembling. It was a picture of a man standing in front of the Blackwood Cemetery. He was tall and thin, wearing a dark overcoat. His face was pale and drawn, his eyes filled with terror. And behind him, in the shadows of the cemetery gates, was a figure. A tall, thin figure wearing a dark overcoat. A figure with no face. I dropped the photograph, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew then that I hadn't imagined it. The passenger had been real, and he had brought something with him. Something that was still out there, waiting in the darkness. I ran back to the car, my mind screaming at me to get away. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and sped away, leaving the photograph behind. I never went back to the Blackwood Cemetery, and I never picked up another passenger wearing a dark overcoat. But sometimes, late at night, when the rain is hammering against my windshield, I glance in the rearview mirror, and I see him, sitting in the back seat, staring at me with his empty eyes, waiting for me to take him home.